Thank you very much, Root Guy. Let's see that love in the chat, please. Show some love to the people who show love to the channel. Is that a resub? It's Cloudy, man. Cloudy was the caster for the Don't You Star Masters for a long time. And we were obviously in a lot of lobbies together, so good to be back with him. Cloudy, Chinese caster. Alright. Guys, let's do this then. Let's introduce these players. To the bottom right hand side of the map, our red Terran player from Africa is going to be aLive. And he is going up against the teal Protoss player from SK Telecom 1. It is the one and only Classic. No brakes on the hype train, says CEMN. Wardy's got us hooked up today, guys, says Atheist for the cause. Damn right. I'm as hyped as you guys are. Like, if these games are just gonna keep on coming, I'm just gonna keep on going. Because like, if we why take a break if we can just go straight into a match, right? I'm not gonna make you guys miss games. Not today. Usually I would, probably. But not today. Today's games are too good. So we're going to see a command center coming down here. It's a reactor expand out of aLive. That's something you don't really say all too much anymore. Let's see the gateway and the Cybernex core coming up from Classic. Very standard expansion from him in the very early stages of, once again, New Gettysburg as our map here. It's interesting. We don't see New Gettysburg all the time in the kind of map pools and best of threes. I wonder if it sort of comes through here because I guess a lot of the Pro League players and so on don't necessarily play all of the ladder maps. And so when it comes to veto, they will not necessarily veto what we might see other players vetoing, because they'll just veto maps they necessarily maybe just aren't as practiced on because they don't play ladder so much. I mean, that's a very kind of general way to talk, but it's a big assumption. But it is interesting because Gettysburg isn't really a map that you oftentimes see in the PvT. You generally see something like Frozen Temple. Frozen Temple, Frost, and like King Sejong or so would be a bit more standard. Something along those lines. Galactic Process. New Gettysburg is just weird. And actually, to be fair, I think Protoss players should like playing on New Gettysburg. It's aLive that didn't veto it out. It's generally the Terran players who don't really enjoy the fact that it's just such a large map and so hard to attack into your opponents and so on. So this is going to be interesting as we kick this off, guys. A Stargate's on the way from Classic, or the Stargate is finished from Classic. He's going to have an Oracle on the way, so very early Oracle. And I like this on New Gettysburg. It's one of those maps where there isn't really a lot of positions to pressure on with Blink, or Depths, or Resonating Glaives and stuff. That sort of stuff. So instead, you just sort of Stargate, and it is sort of, it is close by air, so you have that little bit of an advantage. And I think in general, because you expect it to go long, the Oracle just has a lot of use throughout the game in terms of making sure you get it to go to the later stages of the game, which is where you're aiming for here on New Gettysburg. So, just going to be seeing the Cyclone. We'll lock onto the Oracle almost immediately, but he does pull back and does get out of range. Comes in, picks off an SCV, and that's the thing, at this high level of play, you have to always just make sure you make the most of things, and even just finding a way to get one SCV kill here for this Oracle is really nice. Obviously, you'll hope for more, but as we just talked about, the Oracles have more uses than just killing workers. Revelations, for example. But, I mean, there's so much you can do. These two Adepts are going to shade by. They're not going to commit, though. Too many Marines nearby. But it does create a little bit of distraction where he comes in, and Classic's able to pick off another SCV. So, just creating opportunities as aLive for now is defending. And defending well as also. As we're going to see that Oracle coming over to the right. Classic behind this will now just take a third base. He's got that robot facility up, and so observers will begin to produce. And a couple of sentries just getting warped in here as well. So a couple of sentries get warped in. Another pylon will be added on. And two Adepts from Classic coming back over to the left-hand side. So a couple of Adepts coming over back to the left as we're going to see that Twilight Council coming down from Classic. Forge gets added on as well behind this natural expansion. And here's this Oracle again, just Classic looking to see if there's an opportunity, but aLive's well defended. 6 Marines in the natural expansion. Cyclone in the main. He's even got 6 Marines out on the map, just looking to see if he can find the Oracle, just chilling out somewhere, just out of position, and to see if he can take advantage of it. +1 weapons now coming down. Obviously, this means that he's going to be able to take a little bit of an upgrade lead here, although Classic's Forge is not really too far behind either. That was in the natural expansion, right? Yeah, there it is. So Waiting to see what comes of this. At this point in the game, with nothing on the Twilight just yet, you'd probably... It's actually quite a late Twilight, right? Because it's Stargate opening. So I was going to say, you could expect either Blink or Glaives. And it is going to be the choice of Glaives here from Classic. So going to commit to, well, a Adept-based play initially. And what might happen is that he just goes into Adept pressure and then follows up with the Blink Stalkers and still plays very standard. Just with that Oracle in the early game, which kind of messes up the time as to what we're used to. It's very possible as well, though, that he just makes a hell of a lot of Adepts. In fact, I think he will make a hell of a lot of Adepts. And really sort of just try to do damage. You know, by shading around all over the place, maybe warp a whole ton of Adepts into the main base. Because once that Glaives finishes, these Adepts attack so quickly, they can clean out workers so fast. So let's keep our eyes on that as we see from aLive. He's going to stim a few Marines forwards and just taking some control on the map, basically, as we have him with his first 2 medevacs looking to see what's around, what's up for grabs. Doesn't really find anything just yet. This Oracle does pick off a depot that was building on the bottom pathway. aLive obviously wants to get that up because he's going to try and build it again. Just wants to kind of, I mean, I'm not sure, just I guess slow down Adept attacks and so on through this bottom side or something. Could definitely be the reason. We're going to see Widowmine going burrow here as well. It's just going to continue with that sort of idea of just defending and stuff like that. So these bio units are going to sit up to the top as we have a observer overhead. And this probe just put her onto the left-hand side as well. Adept going to be moving around too, seeing what's up. Cyclone from aLive also moving up and down on the left side of this base. And as Blink starts up from Classic. It will just be very standard sort of Adept Blink Stalker playstyle for now. It will be, again, very Adept heavy initially, and he might get fairly aggressive with this with the Warp Prism. Looks as though for the most part he's sort of sitting back though with his main army, so not doing too much here with this. As we see Observer overhead, so he has a pretty good idea what the Terran's up to. Our Terran player is up to 3 bases. We didn't really talk much about the Terran build, but just because it was so standard, plus 1k main stim, combat shields, go up to 5 racks, add on a second engineering bay. As he did that, he added on the armory, and he went into +2, +1 upgrades. So very standard stuff from the Terran, really. Nothing too much to shout about, it really isn't. Just very straight up way to play. And these Marines, unfortunately, have actually missed that Warp Prism, so this Warp Prism could be a bit of a nuisance. You have to kind of question what sort of angles he's going to go for here. Probably bring these Adepts in towards the 3rd base, while the Warp Prism will go towards the natural or so, I guess. And then he might actually fly by, drop on the natural, fly by, and then warp into the main. And that's all of a sudden attacking in 3 locations at the same time, with one very fluent movement forward, so... Just going to be seeing Classic on the map here still, if there's pressure available. Interesting that aLive has a few Marines just to this top side. I wonder if he's just waiting to see something like a Warp Prism flying through this so he can stim at it and just come out of nowhere and pick it off when his opponent's not expecting it. Although, of course, I mean, he's on the Watchtower, and I mean, Classic must know that if he doesn't have the Watchtower, his opponent probably does. And if you know that, then there should really be no excuse to, kind of deal with it. There we go, then. This attack that we were talking about before starts to come into play. Adepts will commit into the 3rd base. Warp Prism will drop into the natural, and yeah, here's his choice. He either goes and warps into the main, or he just kind of sticks around the natural. So he goes to the main base. Probably, okay, he's going to warp in here. I was going to say he might not because of the Liberators and the Cyclone, because he might not get the warp in finish, and he doesn't actually. So it's a good shutdown by aLive, good defense. I mean, how many workers has he actually lost? 19? That's not so bad for the amount of Adepts he's killed off, you know, and to have cleaned up so much. Yeah, that's quite nice. That was a perfect example of how I think that Warp Prism play can be so powerful on New Gettysburg, because you warp in here, and again, it's just as we saw, shade into the 3rd, you drop to the natural, and you just keep on flying with the Warp Prism down to the main base and warp in from that location. And that can be, again, just all of a sudden there's attacks in 3 bases, and the Terran plays all over the place. He doesn't commit enough to defend one of them, and boom, all of a sudden you find yourself in this awkward spot where if you haven't committed enough to kill one of them, or one of the set of Adepts in one of the bases, you've lost an entire mineral line. So very difficult to deal with, but aLive did it well. And you see his Adept getting taken down. As we see now, Classic though is in a much more comfortable position to move onto the map. And actually, while he hasn't really seemed to have done so much, or traded that much better, he is right now 180 supply with a couple plus I mixed into the army against 145. And this is while now he's adding on a 2nd Stargate and a Fleet Beacon, while also going for the same upgrades as the Terran players. So really just solid macro play out of Classic, and you look at aLive's army, and all of a sudden we sort of look at this and ask ourselves, how was aLive ever meant to win this game? Because he didn't actually really do anything wrong, I don't think, up until now. You know, there's a couple of fights that maybe didn't go exactly the way you would have wanted it to, but for the most part, the trades were pretty even. But just a lack of economy or something, which means that he doesn't have enough army right now, and you can just see it. I mean, Classic will just move straight into the natural. He's not afraid at all of the army which he's got, so he will just poke around as necessary. Few force fields coming down again. Bioforces will back away up to the top side. Miss command center taking some damage, starting to fall, getting very low. Blinking forwards now. The Liberators will go down here. Also the Vikings too, I imagine. So just needs a target fire with those before he loses the Void Ray / Colossi. Looking as though it's going to happen. Loses the Void Ray. But nice force fields in the back, and this is just Classic. Putting himself in a position where obviously he'll just keep moving up this base, and as he keeps moving up into this base, aLive's not going to get any more production coming into the game, because any production he has is going to get picked off super quickly. There's a few Vikings and a few Marines sitting at the back of the main base. Not going to be enough though. aLive, well, he's going to clean up a couple of devs to try and attack into the third base at the same time, but if you're going to lose all of your production, then what are you really even going to have left at this point? Widowmine goes off, that doesn't really matter. Classic just has so much, and with so much, he is just going to keep on attacking, keep on dealing damage, and he's going to take game number 1 and put himself 1-0 up in this best of 3 series. Order goes down, Marine goes down as well. I'm just going to be seeing another couple of barracks will continue to be cleaned out, and that will be GG, I believe. Classic shits on top of the army, and that is like aLive's really kind of last couple of things which he has. That's going to Classic, and we're going to be playing on Galactic Process as we go into this second game. For a moment here I was about to say Dusk Towers. Last night when I was on Jinx TV, I was analysing the GSL finals, and obviously Bjorn SOS was game 3 was on Dusk Towers, and so initially just seeing this and having Dusk Towers on my mind from last night a little bit, I was like, whoa, it's Dusk Towers, just like seeing the spawn locations and like the dark map. God damn it. Alright, let's kick this off though. To the bottom left hand side of not Dusk Towers but Galactic Process, it will be our red Terran player from Africa. It's going to be aLive. And he will play against the blue Terran player, or the teal Terran player, teal Protoss player, sorry. To the upper right, let's see if you cheer it on Classic. Alright. So, as we jump into game number 2, what does aLive need to do differently, I guess, is the question. And, I mean, maybe just not go into a macro game against Classic, because, honestly, I mean, aLive's very good, but in that last game, he just got outplayed in terms of straight-up macro. He didn't take damage, really, from the Oracle. He didn't get delayed on his third base. He is free to play his own little game. Actually, maybe the one thing that he didn't do is that he wasn't aggressive enough, perhaps. You know? Perhaps aLive is the one who needs to turn up the pressure instead of just letting Classic do whatever he wants to do for the first 5 to 10 minutes of the game. Because Classic was under no pressure at all. There's no Widowmine drop. Because there was a reactor expand, we went to second Rax very early. There wasn't even really that much of a stim pressure play. So, you know, even for going into a kind of a fast stim pack, you know, a pretty quick stim pack, he still didn't do much with it. He didn't threaten too much with that. So just have to be a little bit careful. And maybe a bit more aggressive this time around. See the Stargate again from Classic. So obviously has been enjoying the Stargate playstyle against the Terran. Going to use it once more here on a map where you're probably more liable to see Blink Stalker sort of openings. The general strengths of Blink Stalkers is the mobility and the ability to harass in the early stages of the game too. And this is a great map for harassing on because, well, this first ramp here as a Terran player, you don't generally hold that ramp. You'll generally hold back a little bit. It gives you a lot of room with the Stalkers where you're going to be on even ground. There's no, you know, ramp up once you're up the first ramp. That's quite far away. So you've got a lot of space to work with in terms of kiting and so on. So, and also as soon as your opponent's super far out of position, you just rotate over here and then blink up into the main base. And so it's one of those things where you sort of look and you're like, well, it is a good map for Blink, but obviously Classic just likes the Oracle play much more. SCV looking as though it's about to go down here. So SCV about to be picked up. You'll be seeing the two adepts now will join up together, joining forces to move across the map and just try and pressure Third Adept on the way as well, and this might be a lot of pressure coming in general. 3 Adepts and Oracle can definitely trade very nicely against this small group of Marines or so. And especially if that Medevac's going to pop out and take them across the map, this could turn out very well for Classic. Who does actually, though, run into Widowmine to start things off, and obviously that is less than ideal. So Widowmine going to pick up an Adept straight away. The other Adept will be low, and we won't have any shields left. And the Shade will just cancel it. It's not going to do anything at all. As, oh no, the Oracle flies over the Marines. And Classic makes a big mistake. All of a sudden, we're just watching the Marines, and the Oracle flies straight over it. Huge mistake. And aLive is definitely taking the early advantages here. Moving across the map now with 8 Marines, the Medevac. Widowmine's actually going to come on the ground to maybe try and back him up a little bit. It was already out towards the center of the map, so let's see what happens. This Medevac unit is going to come in and going to move towards the main base. We'll start to unload over here. There's a few Marines starting to come out. There's 5, 6, 7, and 8. And we'll see if your Adepts getting warped in to help push this back as well. Phoenix comes out actually trying to take down some of this, to try and take down this Medevac. And Marines just going to once again unload and try and see what they can get up to. Widowmine goes off. Only I think on 1 probe. 3 workers killed actually, so not bad. Drops off 1 more Marine just to finish off that Phoenix. Classic does end up losing this, and still under pressure then. There's something which aLive didn't really get done in the last game. He didn't actually find a way to really kind of do damage and to really trade and just put pressure on in the early stages. So this time he is, and that's pretty nice. Oh my god, have you seen what aLive wants to do? I thought he was really doing is I thought he was trying to distract long enough to make Classic send his probes back and Classic be like, alright, so he's not going to drop me here. Okay, then I'm going to move away and just be safe. And oh, again, Widowmine getting denied there. Really nice little control by Classic where he's looking as though he's about to take a lot of damage and then he pulls away at the last moment. Widowmine's out here and he knows it, so he's just going to make sure he warps in units before he sends them back to mining. And probes will get back eventually as Phoenix will pick away the Medevac too, which means these 2 Adepts should win out against the Marines. And again, 2 more workers going down. At the same time, they're aLive. Lost a bunch of workers too. To the Oracle. Apologies, guys. Completely missed it. Oh! Why aren't I more awake for this? Oracle picks off a bunch of workers, so while aLive is actually over there getting quite a lot done, the Oracle is doing crazy amounts of damage back on aLive's side of the map. So poor aLive. That really sucks for him. I'm just going to see the 3rd Nexus dropping down as well. So the 3rd Nexus drops down, and these 2 Phoenix from Classic will continue to move down to the bottom left-hand side of the map. We're going to see a lot of Adepts from Classic also moving through the center. And there's an Oracle. Another Phoenix as well. So Classic looking to get aggressive again. I mean, he killed off a lot of workers of aLive. I mean, all said and done, he actually killed off an even amount. So he feels as though his army right now is good enough to attack. What is there? I mean, there's a few Marines with not really any upgrades. In fact, no upgrades. And a Cyclone. Obviously, the bunker helps, but well, the Adept's just going to shade in and it's going to work their way through a couple of these SCVs already. I mean, a couple of SCV kills. The Adepts are very safe behind this mineral line. I mean, there's a Cyclone coming forward, but now just shades maybe towards up the ramp. He's actually going to come in and lift the Cyclone up with these Phoenix. He's going to come in forwards here, so he's going to try and just kill off, say, the bunker or something. Another Cyclone coming in. That's going to get lifted too. Just get targeted down to the Phoenix that's lifting by the Marines. Oracle picking up a little bit more damage. Classic comes out of this with a 12 worker lead, although he has lost a lot of army. As he's actually lost, what, like a couple of Phoenix? What did he actually lose there? 4 Phoenix in total, 2 Oracles. Alright, so as we see this Phoenix joining up, and we've seen these probes going to move in towards the 3rd base. So 3 probes going to move in over towards the 3rd base now. And this is something Classic has set up behind everything which he's done so far. There's also a 3rd CC from aLive. And 8 minutes in, worker counts are slightly favouring the Protoss player with triple meal on the map. It's not too much of an economy disparity. Army supplies are where they should be as well, with the Terran in a slight lead. I think we are going to turn out to be in a pretty decent position here overall from both players. I don't think this game is going to end in these early stages. I think we're going to be going on for a little while. As we're going to be seeing the Phoenix coming in, and they'll start to harass. And this is the annoying thing about the Phoenix, right? They can get so much harassment done through the entirety of the game. And they're so hard to shut down because they're just so fast. You know, even a Cyclone knocking onto him, I'd be surprised if he really killed it off, although not so much if the Phoenix actually stopped and kind of wait around. Although that was nice what he did. He went over and he actually lifted up the Cyclone. By lifting the Cyclone, he cancelled the lock on. And all the Phoenix staying alive here, as we still see a few Marines in the mineral line here. Picks off 2 of the Phoenix, and all of a sudden, this is a mistake out of Classic. So from something that was going very well for him, he has now messed up just slightly and lost a couple more units than he had to. No Twilight Council upgrades, we're just going to be going straight into that Robotics Bay this time around, so straight into Colossus production. Generally, we will see Twilight upgrades coming in still, and there is Resonating Glaive starting. Just because the Colossi on their own, I mean, they're nice, but they're not really like the core part of your composition anymore. They're much more of a supporting unit to the composition that really helps just cleave away at some initial damage with Splash, and just sort of move from there. Adepts, Stalkers, and Phoenix again just joined together. I mean, at this point, Classic probably doesn't want to be too aggressive, because if he gets aggressive, it's just not a good timing, right? I mean, he doesn't have any Resonating Glaives, he doesn't have Blink, so he's missing out on a lot of possibility at the moment. As going to be seeing units just moving their way through the rocks, opening up the map a little bit to be able to engage a little bit more easily as time goes by. And we've seen some units moving across here as well. Actually, aLive's going to try and step in this position with a couple of tanks. Liberator sieged up also. Classic backs away as soon as he sees this, so he's going to take his time. I wonder if he comes down this ramp and across. Actually, look at this. aLive just going to back away. Doesn't even kill off the rocks here, so he's going to back away from this fight. Doesn't even bother to try and take it. Backs away almost immediately. 2 Vikings about to pop out, +1/+1 upgrades are about to finish too. And combat shields also coming in now for our Terran player, so getting more upgrades up as we'd expect him to. Just setting up into better positions, but still neither of them are going to end up being in too good a spot compared to the other. The upgrades are nice though from aLive, right? I mean, 1/1 against just +1. That extra arm upgrade can go quite a long way, and especially if that continues, you know, if he goes into 2/2 straight away now, while our Pros player only goes into 1 upgrade, that's not going to be the case. Second Forge is on the way, so it's going to be very minimal worker difference or upgrade difference here. Nice play by the Phoenix again, just catching those Widow Mines, catching the Medevac first of all, and then picking up the Widow Mines before they can burrow. I mean, that's what these Phoenix are so good at, and especially into the hands of someone like Classic, who's just so aware of what's happening on the map. You can shut down little drops like this and little Widow Mine attempts to attack, and you can stop the Widow Mines from just even picking up a single, not even a single kill, but even just any damage at all. And I'm going to sim away, just spotting this army, and as he spots it, I mean, he'll know sort of what's going on, and just sort of sees the composition a little bit. It's very similar to the last game though, and at this stage of the last game, Classic just sort of said, well, okay, this is it, this is where we attack, and we see what happens. So Third Colossus is popping, and this is exactly what we did last game too, although we didn't really get to see too much of it. The second Stargate and a Fleet Beacon coming down. So second Stargate and a Fleet Beacon coming in, and Classic will just be, well, preparing for late game, really. I mean, the second Stargate and a Fleet Beacon means he's going to go into Tempest, and the Tempests are going to be a way to go Sky Toss, and that's really good against Master Liberator, even against the Vikings too, to some extent, to just pick away at them from a distance. I'm just going to keep moving through the center. You're going to see that factory is going to start taking a bit of damage here, going down to about half health very swiftly. So that factory going to go down. Liberator will see jump on the high ground, and again, a few tanks will help to defend this position. I think it's a good enough position actually from aLive. I don't think Classic will find a way into that, especially having seen that he's happy to tech up here. He's just going to fall back, and I mean, Temple Archives finishing, there's the first Tempest on the way. I mean, there's more and more positives continue to roll in here from our Pros player, and for our Terran player who really just doesn't have, well, anything. He's going to be having the Bioforces just collecting together to clean out a few Adepts which are harassing into that natural mineral line. So there's a few Adepts continue to move forwards here. +2 kicks in from Classic, still behind by an armor upgrade here as the 2/2 finishes for the Terran player, so going to want to do something about that. It's interesting, I mean, because the Tempests, I know they're very good late game and they can really pick away at units again and again, but the Vikings already been out for aLive, and it's like, you know, he's already got the composition he wants to fight against what his opponent's playing into or building into, so aLive's composition is very good here. A few MPs mixed in, ready on those ghosts, and let's see if he can just take an incredible fight like Beyond did against SOS in that new Gettysburg game in the GSL finals. We'll be seeing this couple of Adepts They get cleaned out pretty quickly. The lack of that extra armor upgrade is really visible here when you see units connecting on those adepts. It's actually very visible as to kind of what's going on, what's happening. So, we've seen this group of units continue to move towards the upper right-hand side. And aLive, ooh, gets hit by a Revelation. I mean, that's nice, right? Because now the Tempests have full use of their range. They're going to be able to pick away at anything they want to, as long as it's close enough. Which it should be, because he's trying to advance forwards. The EMPs are really bad here out of aLive. Well, the next EMP is pretty good. There's 2 storms available still. They go down to the top side almost immediately, though. Vikings still left over, pushing forwards. Going for Tempest initially, not the Colossi. As the Tempests go down, he'll probably focus more so on the Colossi, but he has to kind of split backwards with the rest of the units until then. He keeps just re-engaging in with kind of clumped up kind of portions, and so the Colossi still doing good damage. Very weird fight where neither player is really coming out ahead. I think it's going to be very even down to the last few moments here. Some more ghosts coming through as they EMP up, as we just see an extra few warp-ins from Classic, and both players drop below 100 supply momentarily. It's aLive who's the first to pop back up above 100, and he's actually still cleaning out over here. And maybe this is one of those situations where it's so close, and this is where actually that upgrade really starts coming into play, because as the upgrade starts coming into play, we're going to be seeing him just trading that little bit better in these very low unit numbers. The upgrade is very valuable, and just going to be seeing him actually pushing through. aLive looks as though he's done it. It looks as though he's going to win game 2 here in this best of 3 against Classic in the Leifeng Cup Qualifier. This Viking does pick up the Tempest, and we're just going to be seeing a few more units continue to move around now from aLive. We're looking to see if you can just finish this off. We're going to see, I think the feed just came down. But, I mean, there's still ghosts here that often goes down before it can kind of really come up. I mean, if Classic can fight long enough to get his next set of upgrades finished, then maybe there's a way, but I don't think so. Lots of cannons here, but they're going to get empowered as the second pylon falls. I love this. Just stimming the Marauders forward to chase the Colossus, and he's going to be able to pick off this Colossus here as well. And at some point in the very near future, I think Classic just says, okay, I see it, you've vested me here, and then he just types out the GG, because there isn't really much else he can do at this point, as aLive just takes the fights, and versus aLive here in the Leifeng Cup Qualifier. It just doesn't really get much better than this. I mean, this is really so many games in this bracket today which are just at like the level of GSL Code S. So really crazy. As we set up into this, guys, we have to the top left hand side our red Terran player. Let's see it if you're cheering on Africa's aLive. He will open very aggressively now on Frost with a Cyclone opening. Tech Lab on the racks, factory building. Setting up into this over the next few moments. Bottom left, our blue teal Protoss player from SKT1. It's the one and only Classic. An SSL champion, a GSL champion. How's he going to be doing today? Let's find out. There's Probe nibbling away at this SCV, which is going to go down now. Probe gets shot down. I'm just going to see this Deeper coming down as well from aLive. So Deeper comes down, factory will lift up and land onto that Tech Lab. So Tech Lab will be used for that Cyclone, as we mentioned before. Not really too surprising there. So that's what we expected. Cyclone on the way up. And there's the Robo Facility as a response to this from Classic. So going away from that Stargate play, I mean, against the Cyclone opening, going for a Stargate would not really make any sense at all. In what world would it make sense to build an Oracle against something which more or less hard counters an Oracle? So going into the Robo Facility instead is much more standard. Question is, when does that Twilight go down? Because if he doesn't drop a Twilight soon, we might see Classic just getting very aggressive against this very early on, just trying to kill him, to kill his opponent, with just lots of units in the early stages of the game. So as that War Prism starts on up, we'll be watching to see how many extra gateways are going to be coming in here. Extra 2 racks coming in now from aLive after this expansion. And the Cyclone early on here is actually going to start moving across the map. So Cyclone will come across, we'll actually lock onto an Adept or so. And as these 2 Adepts start to work their way through this Cyclone, they actually shade away. So the Cyclone gets access to the mineral line. And we'll pick off a couple of workers here. Oh no, it doesn't actually manage it. As we're going to be seeing a Stalker coming down to push him away. So, I mean, Cyclone has to be careful. We're quite low on health already. Is going to keep moving back. Adept's not close enough for the shades to get more than 1 shot off. And that's a survive for now. Or, you know, the Cyclone survives for now. Here we go then. Warp Prism will come up the left-hand side of the map. So as he comes up this left-hand side of the map, we'll be seeing a couple of Adepts and the Stalker, and obviously a lot more units warping in. And it's just interesting. I think it's really just a way to punish the Cyclone opener, saying, I don't feel this is very good in the early stages of the game. You see the Cyclone actually locked onto the Warp Prism, so has to move back with that initially. Nice little amount of micro here from Classic, lifting up those units as they get hurt. Is just going to back away though. Cyclone is enough for now to be able to shut this down as a few more Stalkers warp in. And the pressure will continue out of Classic as he moves to the front. Warp Prism might also just be a way to just say, well, with the Warp Prism I can cancel the lock guns which you're doing with the Cyclone by lifting up my units as I need to. And actually this is really nice now as Classic is lifting up his units as well. Look at that little bit of micro, lifting up those couple of Stalkers there. Now he pulls away as he realizes, oh, that's not a good position for the Warp Prism. He wanted to warp more in, and if you've got 3 more Stalkers in here, this could be deadly. But, I mean, he's already doing so much damage just with 3 Stalkers, never mind 6. That Warp Prism just warped in a little bit too close to the Marines, and they were able to pick it off. And so aLive does eventually shut this down. But it was a tough few moments for him. Wouldn't mind picking up a kill as well as Classic tries to get home. So actually, after aLive loses a fair few workers and a Cyclone, he does make up for it, picking off the Warp Prism, 2 Adepts, and 3 of the 4 Stalkers which were attacking him. So we're going to be seeing these units continue to gather up from Classic. And what's he going to do behind this? Twilight Council straight to a Dark Shrine. So Classic's going to continue to play somewhat aggressively in this game, going into that Dark Shrine, looking for the Dark Temple player in the early stages, and looking to see what exactly he's going to be able to get up to. Now you see Adepts and Stalkers are going to be joining up once again. I'm just going to be setting up, ready to go up this ramp and see what they can get up to. So Widowmine's going to go down right away. So Widowmine falls. There's a few more Adepts warp in. I'm just going to be seeing the supply dip again picked away at the front. And this is the thing, actually. I mean, these units, there's so many of them, and aLive doesn't really have anything in position. He has these Marines down here, which are about to drop. He has Stim. He can come in from the back, which might be somewhat annoying for Classic to deal with. So here we go. Stimming on. He's going to target the Warp Prism down. He does cancel that warp in of units as he comes in from the left side as well. Classic's army is completely surrounded, actually, and aLive is starting to clean up a lot of this. Adept after Adept will go down. You can see Classic just moving forward here, desperately trying to just kill off another worker or two. And aLive, when he cleans that up, is immediately going to counterattack. He knows he's just taking a huge army lead, so across the map he goes. 3 DTs have warped in. They'll move across the map as this third base cancels instantly. So instant cancel right here as aLive going to be cleaning out this pylon. And, well, the DTs, as they come across, they actually still have so much potential, because I don't even think there's an engineering bay up. There's only 1 scan available soon. So these DTs are going to get so much done as they're going to come in, swiping away. And this is DTs doing damage, which might just pull Classic right back into this after what was not a pretty engagement. The other thing is, now a scan comes down on this side of the map, well, okay, I understand that these units are going to do a good job, but at the same time, oh, well, actually, if he loses power to all of his gateways, then that would be problematic. He needs to warp in another DT to defend here on this side of the map. DTs for now continue to pick away at these buildings, these units. aLive down to 12 workers, but still in a big army supply lead. Liberator coming across the map too doesn't really help. Probe's trying to pull away. Classic just needs to warp in, I feel, another couple of Dark Temple. I'm surprised aLive didn't kill that, because another couple of DTs could change so much. And there's the DT coming in there. 1 moves away. The thing is, the DTs now at the side of the map need to force a lift on these CCs. And when he's done that, then he can bring this next DT in again. Before then, I think it's very risky too. Okay, so he's forced to lift there. There's no scan here, although a turret is going to come up. 2 DTs will continue to chase around and see what they can get up to. As Marines continue to take quite a lot of damage. DTs doing a lot. I mean, this is a very weird game now. aLive down 10 workers to 22, but obviously Classic can't really mind. Army supplies have evened up. And now he's going to start picking off the Dark Shrine. Well, maybe he should have done that before, because if he could have stopped these extra Dark Templar coming into play, that could have been game-changing. I mean, right now you see the DT comes in, there isn't a scan available. There is one in just a moment or two, but, you know, that's in a moment or two, right? It's not just yet. This observer, or this orbital from the main natural expansion will go towards the main. aLive, with a lot of his remaining SCVs, in fact, all of his remaining SCVs is on this side of the map. His only buildings are on the other side. He can float, but he has not got any mining anymore. And so it's very important here that he tries to break Classic down right away. And that's what he's going to do, is he pushes in towards the natural expansion. He'll start to work his way through pylons powering gateways. Pros start to get pulled in. And these rifles just seeing what they can do. Going to kill off one of those pylons now. You'll see the scan coming down so he can get rid of the DTs. Very cute little play so far. He's actually going to load up. Is he going to go back home? Oh, maybe he has to because he has to protect an orbital, right? Yeah, I guess he might just have to. Well, it's interesting though, because I mean, at the same time, he doesn't really have that much to kind of scan with, right? I mean, he's still only got one orbital command. It's going to take him forever to clean out both the Dark Templar. He still hasn't. He did kill the Dark Shrine actually, so without a Dark Shrine up, there won't be any more DTs coming in. But he still has to get rid of these first ones, and has to make sure he actually connects with these scans. There it is. Scan comes down. Now DT. Oh, it's going to get away. aLive. Big mistake. That's a mistake he can't afford to make, as these SCVs have come back to mine. He's only on one orbital, so now he has no detection. And you can see Classic on 20 workers at home is just going to be mined so much more, mined so much more. He just means he keeps building this army up, while aLive doesn't really do anything. He just sits back. Classic knows he's got a while until the CC finishes with more energy, and has the energy to scan once again. And so that's obviously problematic. This DT going to be trying to make his way through that barracks, and there it is. aLive will end up GG. Now, what a crazy game. That engagement